Hello, welcome to RC Video Reviews. I've got kind of an unusual video for you today. Today is the first time I'm going to fly fixed wing with Express LRS using 3.0 Release Candidate 2. Using Express LRS by itself, not that big of a deal, but what's going on in this case is I'm using Express LRS 3.0 Release Candidate 2, and the thing that's special about that is right inside there, I've got a Matek converter board that converts Crossfire to PWM, and it puts out, it's a 10-channel board, but I've got my radio set for 8 channels. And you'll see also that I've got a Hobby Eagle Super 2 installed in there, and I am using the PWM mode. The reason for that, if you're sharp about these things or know about these things, is that the Hobby Eagle Super 2 doesn't have throttle out. So that means you have to have some form of receiver that has a channel 3 out for your ESC. The Hobby Eagle 2 Super 2 does not support throttle out. So for that reason, in this particular instance, I went ahead and used the PWM setup. The other thing that's unusual about this one, and I'll add some better footage inside when I get back to the studio so I can show you exactly what's going on here, but I've got telemetry all over the place. I've got current, I've got voltage, I've got link quality, RSS, of course. And the big thing for me, though, is current and voltage. And I found a couple of widgets. I'll talk more about these in a standalone video, but the author of these widgets pointed these out to me and asked me to give them a try. So I'm going to give them a try today and see how they go. But notice I've got my voltage gauge over here. It looks like a little gas gauge. And on the left-hand side, I've got current. So I know it's terrible. Sunlight conditions don't really work well for filming a screen in this kind of bright sunlight. So I'll give you more information when I get back to the studio. Anyway, this is the very first flight with Express LRS, and it's also my first flight in about 7 weeks after being down with COVID. So my plan today is just get up. I've already flown my Grim Reaper just to make sure my thumbs are wired to the brain okay. And next thing to do is get this plane up in the air and just tool around with it a little bit. And I'm going to pay attention to things like my telemetry, my controls. We're going to see how everything goes. And if I like what I see on the radio, I'll probably go ahead and give the stabilizer a whirl. We don't have much wind today, though. It's kind of calm, so I don't know how effective the stabilizer is going to be, but I'll probably give it a try anyway. All right, let's fly this thing. All right, here goes my first flight with an Express LRS receiver running 3.0 Release Candidate 2. I'm a little nervous because, you know, it is a release candidate stage, but I know the RF tech is good. But that's a nice airplane, and I'm doing a lot of things at one time, which is a little unusual for me, but let's see how it works out. Before I take off, I'm going to take my own advice and do one last control systems check. I expect the elevator to come up, and it does. I expect the right aileron to come up, and it does. I see the left going down. I expect the left aileron to come up, and it does. I expect the rudder to come right, and it does. I expect the rudder to go left, and it does. Okay. Final control system check is done, and I did check the stabilizer before I came out again to make sure everything is good there. So here we go, taking off with the Express LRS 3.0 with the PWM converter board. It's be a very mild flight because I'm trimming again and I'm testing a new receiver, and I really need to see how they work together. So a lot happening on this one. Very mild flight today. All right, I just got some kind of alert. So I want to land and see what the alert was because I have my high and low values set to be captured in telemetry. So I really want to check that out and see what that alert was. Okay, on the ground safely. On the RSS, I got all the way down to -96. And on the link quality, I was at 91%. So I'm a little surprised at that. Transmission power max was only 25 milliwatts. So I guess they boost the transmission power based on the signal to noise ratio now, which is only 7 dB. But I'm not real thrilled about that -96 at 25 milliwatts if that's the highest level. All right, I figured out what I did wrong. On channel 5, I didn't send my arm switch out over RF. It's just one of those things, it's not a habit, so I had to make sure I went back into my mixer and set my arming switch on channel 5. So now I do have a clean signal on the receiver, letting it know that it is armed. So that is enabled, and that means my dynamic power should be enabled as well. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off and try it again. Okay, I just took a look down and I'm at 100 milliwatts. I won't know the maxes just yet. I gotta focus on flying the plane.
RSSI alert.
There's an RSSI alert. Okay, radio link seems to be okay. I'm not getting any errors or alerts that I'm concerned about, so I wanted to go ahead and try the stabilizer real quick. Getting a little bit of wind, so I am gonna try the stabilizer real fast. I have it wind rejection mode now. Let's just see what happens with that. I think I need to change my trim stepping too, because when I trim for level, it goes slightly nose up, and if I go the other direction, I'm slightly nose down. So I think I need a little more granularity on the trim steps. But the wind rejection mode seems to be working really well on the hobby wing. And see, that's what I'm talking about. It keeps climbing. If I go down one, then I keep going nose down. So I think I'm gonna put it on the ground and give myself a little more granularity on the trim. I'm gonna change the trim steps a little bit. These are big control surfaces after all, and I am flying on low rates. So let's go ahead and put it down. I'm gonna make that adjustment, and it'll give me an opportunity to take a look at the radio. Very nice. Good. All right, high rates to whip it around. Okay. Now on the radio for the maxes, I did see an RSSI negative value of -99. So we got down there. We got down there. But the budget on this one is 105. So I was close. I mean, I was right there. So the signal to noise ratio 6 dB, and the transmission power only went up to 250 milliwatts. And the link quality, the lowest the link quality got was 84%. So I think that's okay for local flying. I don't see a problem with that. And then as far as current goes, I had a max at 16.5 amps, and my battery voltage currently 23.1. The peak was 24.7. So we'll take a look at the other screen. And the current, well, the current doesn't stay maxed out. The needle moves as you go. And the RX battery 23.5, and that matches my telemetry up top. So those gauges look good, although the reality is, unless you look down at your screen, you really can't take advantage of those gauges. All right, the wind has picked up a little bit. It's coming off the right-hand side of the runway across the field over there. So you can see the windsock down there as well. So I don't see any issues with the radio link at this point. I was a little surprised it jumped up to 250 milliwatts, but it is what it is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a few more laps around the track with it and see what I think, and then we'll get it on the ground and finish this video up. Interestingly, I already had my trim set on fine. I just set it to extra fine. Very small amount of trim for this, I guess. One other thing I'm gonna do before I fly again is reset my telemetry just to see what the new values are. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And there we go, 25 milliwatts. Got a link quality of 100% on the low end, now 99. And my RSSI at 58, negative 58. Okay. Wind rejection feels really good. I love that mode, especially on a plane like this one. Because the PA planes are so light and they have a light wing loading, so wind rejection on these on a windy day is just nice to have. The one caution I'll give you about these types of setups isn't so much the wiring, because you can verify that on the ground, but you want to make sure your solder is right. You want to make sure your pins are soldered on those conversion boards correctly. You want to make sure that you do your ground testing before you fly, because those are the things that are going to get you in the air on a setup like this, assuming the software works. And again, I'm not seeing any issues with the software right now. My plane is responding the way I expect it to respond. I mean, it doesn't feel any different. Like, the resolution doesn't feel different. The speed doesn't feel different. Nothing about it feels different than my previous flights on it. So from a controllability standpoint, I like what I'm seeing. I'm very okay with that part of it. I think the only thing for me now is just building that faith, right? Radio tech takes a little time to build some faith, and using Express LRS as a primary technology in these planes, it's going to take a little time to make sure, you know, that I'm a firm believer, but it seems to be doing just fine at this point. You just got to build that rapport, so to speak. Okay, there's my voltage alert, and I have voltage alert with sag. So that's one other real nice feature about this setup, is you've got voltage and current, and the voltage is the main pack voltage. So a really nice, hey, get on the ground. A really nice feature is that now that I have actual flight voltage, I don't really need to, the timer becomes irrelevant, because what my radio is telling me is it's saying, hey, you're sagging below your preset voltage floor. So you get to configure that to be whatever you want. In my case, this is a 6L setup. I'm using 22.5 as my floor. And that was the alarm I just got. It said, hey, you sagged below 22.5 for more than 5 seconds. So that's one of the real nice features about this setup, is you get voltage and current. So you have a good idea of what's going on with your battery setup in the plane. And you can set alerts that are appropriate for the plane. You don't have to worry about things like timers. That's one of the things that got me really turned on about this arrangement, and that's having the Crossfire to PWM conversion board, where I get my pack voltage, I get current, and I can use that telemetry on my radio to actually monitor and manage my flight in a much more accurate manner than just a simple timer. Express LRS went up to 100 milliwatts on that flight. My link quality went down to 87, which is fine. RSSI dropped down to -94. I'm running a 333 hertz packet rate, so my range, or my receiver sensitivity, is -105. So I did have a little bit more space to go, about 10 dB, which effectively is about double the range. So there was more room to go on the link quality, and you can see that the radio never decided to increase the power any higher than 100 milliwatts. The current never went above 31.7 amps on that flight. Of course, I really wasn't doing much. And then I started with 23.6 volts and I ended with 21.7. With my voltage floor set at 22.5, I rebounded to 21.7, which gives me a per cell voltage of 3.61. So that's fine. I might raise that up just a little bit. I don't like to go quite as low as that at 3.6 on rebound, but there's no harm in it. So that feature actually worked really well. The voltage alert that accounts for sag, awesome, very cool feature. No timer, didn't even worry about the timer. It is what it is. Well, that wraps up my first look at Express LRS 3.0 Release Candidate 2 using the Matek 10-channel Crossfire to PWM converter board and the Hobby Eagle A3 Super 2 stabilizer. That's a lot happening right there. All I can say is the radio performed the way I'd expected to. I didn't see anything alarming. I looked at my numbers every time after I made sure I had my arming option transmitted over channel 5, which of course enables dynamic power. But once I did that, the radio performed just the way I'd expected to. I didn't see anything that concerned me in terms of the statistics when I got it on the ground, or the power output, or the signal to noise ratio, or the RSSI or link quality. Everything looked like it was just fine. Of course, the Hobby Eagle stabilizer did fine. I've been using those for a lot of years, so I was pretty sure they would do okay. Next up is the S-Bus configuration. I do have S-Bus capable stabilizers on the way in with channel 3 output, so I can connect the ESC to it instead of the receiver. Of course, I'll be using an Express LRS with an S-Bus converter for that option, so keep an eye on the channel, and as soon as I can get an S-Bus configuration in the air, I will. All right, that wraps up my video on Express LRS 3.0. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when new videos hit the channel. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy, and go fly something. Hey, if you like the work I do here on RC Video Reviews, please consider joining me on Patreon. For about the price of a cup of coffee, you can help me keep making videos just like this one. If you'd like to help out, there's a link in the description and on your screen. I'll tell you what, it is good to be back at the field. I kind of missed flying. It's been a lot of weeks. COVID did a number on me and put me down for a little bit, but nice to be at the field again and flying. And I'm really enjoying this extra. I forgot how nice this was. The last 2 times I took it flying, I had a reversed elevator servo. So I went to take off and I broke props twice. So I figured out what was going on finally and fixed it. I don't know why that elevator was reversed, but anyway, today is just back in the saddle stuff. So earlier I flew the Grim Reaper. I flew the XR-61 with the ELRS PWM output conversion on there and telemetry. So that was good. And then I've been flying the extra. This is my 3rd flight on the extra. And I'm just kind of getting back in the saddle again and getting familiar with the plane again. And I'll tell you, I really did forget just how good this plane is. It is a really enjoyable plane to fly. Especially when your elevator isn't backwards, you know, that's a really good thing. And I do have an S6R on here for wind rejection. I'll go ahead and turn that on. I like the wind rejection mode. It's kind of what I'm aiming for all of my big planes, although I will not put it on the 78-inch Edge 540, simply because it just doesn't need it. I've flown that one in wind already, and it really just doesn't react. The wind would have to be, I would say, almost catastrophic. In that case, I probably wouldn't be flying anyway. But for those smaller ones like this 60-inch, having a little bit of wind rejection is nice. Yeah, I forgot. It's been a lot of weeks since I've flown this plane. I've brought it to the field and broke it. So believe me, it wasn't lack of desire to fly it. It was stupidity on my part.
Medium rate.
But yeah, I have forgotten just how nice this plane is to fly. And I bet that's Dave, because I just called Dave a little while ago, and I bet that's him trying to call me. And of course, I can't answer.
5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'll try and fly by the windsock to give you an idea of what's going on with the wind. There it is. And that's why I like that wind rejection mode, because I'm not doing the corrections. The airplane is. I also think due to the amount of wind I get in Florida, that's one of the reasons I'm preferring the EF planes over the PA planes, and that's because they're just heavier. Look at that, man. What a beautiful airplane. I'll tell you what, guys, man, this is these extreme flight planes, they are definitely top of my list. I mean, I'm just going to call it. They're top of my list. You know, you can get these. This is a 3D capable plane, and for the 3D pilots who like to see 3D, I'll get it in the comments for not flying 3D at all. But for those of you who just like to fly sport, these are awesome for that as well. They can fly sport maneuvers really well. And there's a look at the flag, so you can see the wind's got a little bit. Yeah, man, I like that plane a lot. That is definitely, I'm going to say, one of my top three. I would definitely put that in the top 3 airplanes I've ever flown. It's really good. Very enjoyable aircraft to fly.